It was a bright November morning in Washington, D.C. during the Veterans Day ceremony. Crowds filled the park, flags waved, and speeches honored the sacrifices of those who served. Among the crowd was an elderly woman around 80 years old, wearing a faded military jacket and a cap with a small insignia. She walked slowly with the help of a cane, unnoticed by most. While others gathered near the front, she quietly took her place at the back of the line, blending into the background as if her presence didn't matter. As the line moved toward the memorial, a younger man in a polished suit brushed past her, muttering impatiently. Two teenagers laughed softly, pointing at her worn clothes and saying she probably just bought them at a thrift store. The woman lowered her eyes, too tired to argue, and shuffled back to keep the peace. Others in the crowd seemed to ignore her completely. Families with cameras stepped ahead, blocking her path, eager to take photos. Even an event organizer holding a clipboard asked her politely to move aside, assuming she was just another bystander with no role in the ceremony. The woman sighed and took a few steps back, standing near the fence. Her jacket, old but well cared for, bore small stitched patches that few even noticed. To most she looked like someone's grandmother who wandered in, not a veteran who had once carried out missions during one of America's most dangerous times. As the speeches continued, a four-star general stepped forward to greet the veterans who had gathered. He shook hands, thanked them, and paused to look around. Then his eyes fell on the woman in the back. His expression changed instantly. He excused himself from the stage, walked straight through the crowd, and stood in front of her. The laughter and chatter around them stopped. "Ma'am," he said with a firm but respectful voice, "I know exactly who you are." He raised his hand in a salute. The people nearby turned, confused. The general continued, "This woman served as a combat nurse during Vietnam. She saved lives on the field when others thought it was impossible. Without her, many of us wouldn't be standing here today." The silence deepened, and suddenly the same crowd that ignored her only moments ago now looked at her with awe. Tears welled into her eyes as the general helped her move to the front. Where she once stood invisible, she was now the center of respect. Veterans around her saluted, and younger soldiers stood straighter, humbled in her presence. The teenagers who had mocked her earlier lowered their heads, ashamed of their laughter. The man in the suit, who had pushed past her, now stepped aside quietly, realizing the weight of his mistake. The air felt heavier, not with pity, but with honor. For the first time that day, she smiled. Not because of recognition, but because the truth of her sacrifice was finally remembered. In that moment, everyone understood that valor has no age. And sometimes the strongest heroes wear the quietest faces. So the next time you see an elderly person walking slowly, dressed in a worn jacket or a cap with military insignia, pause before making assumptions. Those faded patches are not just fabric. They are chapters of a sacrifice written in silence. Behind every wrinkle may lie the memory of a battlefield, a rescue, or a moment when life and death balanced on a razor's edge. What seems ordinary to us might be extraordinary history disguised as humility. These men and women do not seek applause or recognition, but that does not mean their stories should vanish into the crowd. Respect is not a gift we give them, it is a debt we owe them. Because when we honor them, we don't just honor the past, we carry forward the lesson that courage, loyalty, and sacrifice are not bound by age. And sometimes the quietest figure at the back of the line is the very reason the rest of us still stand free today.